Good morning, gentlemen of Man vs Fat Football Swansea. How are we all doing today? Welcome back to the roundup for week 13 of season 4. We are very nearly done with our fourth season since our inception back in July, August time last year. Cannot believe how far we've flown through the last 15, 16 months. 4 seasons in. There was a time it felt like we were never going to get even season 1 off the ground. And we're already planning for season 5. Unbelievable. Thank you to every single one of you who's been part of this so far. Thank you to everyone who's been part of a phenomenal fourth season. 13 weeks in, over 350 kilos of weight shifted between you guys. So many milestones hit. So much fitness improved. So many friendships made. So many teams of camaraderie and bonding, supporting guys to improve their well-being and their mental health. So many guys looking forward to this as the highlight and the key part of their week, something that is just gets them going, gets them through those long Monday mornings after the weekends. So many guys just having that highlight in their week now, whereby they would have not had anything that got them out of the house beforehand. It's phenomenal, and you are all part of the reason why it is so. Thank you all. Thank you to every single one of you. Thank you to the blue team for their phenomenal attendance this week. The red team with the highest overall team loss. Some multicoloured gradients to please the eye there, with multiple people sharing the team tracker and the Royal Rumble bonus. Die Price remains just ever so slightly ahead of Kyle Lewis in the season 4 percentage leader. That race between those two is literally coming down to decimal points. It'll be very, very interesting next week to see who finishes the season as the biggest loser. Attendance dropped beneath 70 for the first time this season, I believe. Halloween, cold weather, lots of illness. Both the overall title and the scales title are decided. Massive hats off to Marco Banfastin as double winners for the season. That obviously has a big part in playing. The competitive element for this week and next week certainly diminished, with the overall of the scales champions already being decided. That's attendance drops a little bit. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. It was going to happen at some point. It's been a phenomenally successful but also intense season for a lot of you boys. It's absolutely natural to have that drop off occasionally. The scales goal still remains far more than the pitch goals, which is always what we want to see. We move on to the second screen. You can see there 4.1 kilos shifted, a respectable loss this week. 361.6 kilos lost as a team. You can see red's doing really well, white's doing really well. Oranges, blues, purples picking up good losses. Hats off to Carl Bamford, only been with us a couple of weeks. 3.1 kilos shifted, my good sir. I heard about your injury during the game. I really hope it's nothing serious and you can be back with us soon. You've shown phenomenal potential, both as a fantastic goalkeeper on the pitch, but also as someone who's really, really pushing yourself with the weight loss. It's showing, it's falling off you in huge numbers. I can see a more confident man growing week to week, and I hope you aren't set to miss months with us now. I hope this hasn't set you too far back. Dylan, 2.3 kilos shifted after so many ups and downs. A season of the metaphorical roller coaster ride, as cliche as it is. It has been for you. You've come close a number of times only to get hit by a setback, which makes the fact that you've hit your 5% even sweeter, that you haven't let it stop you, that you haven't let it knock you off course. You've just kept coming back. You've picked yourself up every time you got knocked down, and you've smashed it. 2.3 kilos, you picked up your 5%. 4-5 goals this week scored just by you for your team. Unreal performance. Well done, mate. Richly deserved. Personally, not to diminish anyone else's achievements, it's one of my favourite 5% we've seen so far this season. Phenomenal from him. Kyle, Byron, what more can you say? The Whites just keep churning out great weight loss numbers, consistently high numbers, but consistent amount of them across the team as well. Every single week they've got 6, 7, 8 guys losing weight. They never have a week where they've only got 2 or 3 guys losing weight and everyone gaining. They always have 60, 70% of their guys losing weight. Phenomenal from the Whites. I don't know what the secret is there. I don't know what the magic ingredient is. I don't know what they do during their weeks, because yes, they're a great team on the pitch, but they're not just a pitch team. We've seen many teams, not just in Swansea, but across MvFF leagues, that are phenomenal on the pitch, but don't do very well on the scales, and therefore don't do very well overall, because the scales have such a massive impact. The Whites have been the best on the scales and the pitch. So something's working there during the week, away from just the 28 minutes on a Tuesday, that is driving massive amounts of weight loss, so many milestones. I don't know who it is or what it is, but they've captured magic in a bottle there. Something's definitely working. Kieran, with one of his biggest, maybe his biggest loss with us so far, 1.5 kilos shifted. Well done to you, sir. Huge effort from you. We move on to the third screen. Here you can see the scales champions of the week. A lot of people being put forward for having the biggest losses in their teams. Callum is up there for being the sole remaining member of the Oranges in the Royal Rumble. You've got Di for the Whites. They're coming back with a loss after a holiday. Di Price still continues to lose. He's still in the Rumble, hasn't even used his second life yet. Dean with a great loss, Aaron with a loss, Dylan with his 5%, Lewis with a loss, James with a loss. Fantastic to see all of you put forward. This is why it's so important that the team of the week is purely scales based. And we move on to the results on the left hand side of the screen. My favourite part of the week, where I really get to rail home just the difference MvFF has amongst any other football based league or concept out there. Look at these results. Thin It to Win It versus Incredible Bulks. It was a dominant performance from the Greens out there, winning 9-4 on the pitch. I didn't see the game. I can't call what happened on the field. All I can go by is the result of 9-4 shows that the Greens were superior on the pitch. But it doesn't matter because the Reds absolutely demolished them on the scales to take the overall victory. Helped massively by that milestone from Dylan, but even so, they had Kyle with a 3.1 loss. You had people like Dan Kerwin and Ross and Tom Scott also losing, having fantastic seasons behind the scenes. Gareth got himself back on track after a gain last week. Lost weight again, big 1.5 kilo loss from him. You've got the guys that are the pin-ups, the stars, the faces of the league, the big characters that everyone knows of, but you do have these guys like Tom Scott and Ross Thomas and Dan Kerwin, Carl Bamford in the background, just quietly going about having excellent seasons to help their team turn around a pitch loss into an overall victory. Vinder Blues versus Scranra. Again, the team who won on the scales, won overall. Scranra doing really, really well. James Davis really clipped lately with a couple of really solid losses. Howell remains their only remaining member in the Rumble. Fantastic week from them. Just scraped by with the 6, had to borrow, but even so kept the pitch score. The pitch score was 2-2, but Blacks have conceded an extra 2 goals for the borrow. But to play a 6 with a borrow, no subs, up against a very, very good Blue team, a fantastic Blue team that are probably the most organised team on the pitch. To keep it to 2-2 shows just how well that Black team fight for each other. Could be a dark horse, pardon the pun of their team colour, for the title potentially next season. I think we've got a few teams up and coming that could be described with that moniker. Anyway, Blues. You got Chris came back with us. Big loss. You got Di Price continues to lose. Benji, good loss on him. Aaron, and you got Scott Harris. But you've got people like Dan Rowe, Mikey Duria at the back there. Dan and Mike maintaining this week, maintains a success, maintains a consistent. Mike is a massive reason as to why these Blues are so organised on the pitch. But you've got people like Tom Clayton, Ryan having an excellent season. Again, like the Reds, there are so many guys on the Blues who might not get mentioned every week, might not be the biggest characters, might not be known by many people in the league, might not have their name up in lights very often, but are having fantastic seasons behind the scenes. And this is the point. We've got a league here of 88 guys, and every week we do these roundups, and maybe 10, maybe 15 of those guys get mentioned. But there are 50, 60, 70 guys in this league having fantastic seasons, changing their lives, changing their habits, changing their fortunes, changing their outlook, changing their belief, changing their relationship with food, changing their relationship with themselves, and just being kinder to themselves and not beating themselves up so much, and maybe looking in that mirror, not quite hating what they see as much as they used to. It's impossible to mention everyone, but just know that there are so many people here achieving success and positivity every single week, and it's just lush. It's lush to see, it's lush to know. Sometimes I wish we could capture every single little thing and promote it and put feature posts and stories and articles out about it. We can't. It's an impossible task to do. I wish we could, but it makes me so damn proud to know that all of this is happening naturally, organically behind the scenes. Hats off to the Blues. Fantastic victory for them. Oranges versus the Purples. Again, you can see there, tied on bonus, tied on tracking, tied on the pitch. The team who won on the scales won overall. That was it. Purples beat the Oranges by 2 goals on the scales and won by 2 goals overall. Fantastic from them. Joel, another big loss. But you got Lewis, you got Simon, you got Mo, having fantastic losses or maintains between them. Well done to them. For the Oranges, Kieran Binding, 1.5 loss. Big loss from him. Chizzy continues to lose, as does Danny Nicholas. Callum's the only last man standing in the rumble for them. Fantastic. Well done to him. Could potentially be 5 goals winging their way to the Oranges if Callum can go one more week. You'll see in the next slide now who's left. We are down to single-digit figures of guys remaining in the rumble. And then the final result. Again, Yellows won on the pitch, but the team who won on the scales won overall. That is 4 results, every single result tonight. The team who won on the scales won overall. Yeah, I did get to see this game. Fantastic game. One of the best games of football I've seen. Yellows were a match for Whites in every single department. It could have gone either way. Slug in goal for the Yellows was supreme. Had an absolutely imperious performance. Marco Banfastin probably should have scored more than 4. Probably should have scored 8 or 9. But for Slug in goals, fantastic performance from him. The Yellows were a joy to watch. Some of the combination play between Tom and Adam Martin. Mousy to you guys. I don't think he's ever been called Adam Martin up here on a Tuesday night. He's known as Mousy, but the combination between the Martin brothers, with Nathan joining in, with Brad joining in, with Aaron is just... Aaron Day in the middle of the park is probably the most underrated player we have in the league. Just every single week, that guy does not put in a less than 8 out of 10 performance. Phenomenal from him. For the Whites, I massively impressed by seeing Craig Vinny Bowles out there. I've only got the opportunity and the pleasure to see him play once or twice, but he's a delight to watch. You got Di Scoff at the back, fantastic. Griffin goal is always brilliant. The amount of room and space that CJ manages to find, even in congested defences, where 1 minute he's marked and 2 seconds later he's in wide open space with the ball at his feet, is unreal. I don't know how he does it. Byron, the engine on him, just he's quality on the ball, and his skill and his technical ability is unreal, but his engine, his work rate is just unbelievable. But Lee put in a hell of a shift. Shahi, hell of a shift at the back. Yeah, every single person to a man played out of their skin in one of the most entertaining games I've seen. 5-4 it finished to the Yellows, but again, the Whites were the team who won on the scales, and they won overall, and in doing so, clinched the Scales League to go along with their overall league that they picked up 2 weeks ago. They are Season 4 Man vs Fat Swansea double champions. Hats off to every single one of them. We will celebrate this next week for the final week of the season and on the awards night. There will certainly be a lot of medals and certificates and trophies going the way of Marco Banfastin. They've had a phenomenal season. Hats off to every single one of you boys, including the 2 of you that still remain in the rumble, Kyle and Leotes. You've got a couple of lads there. Again, the columns. Howell, your box does not line up with the box above. That is peeing me off. Anyway, Howell, Owen and Callum are the sole remaining survivors of their respective teams. And then you've got the Blues with 2, Greens with 2. Batty's out of line as well, my God. Now I'm noticing it, and Whites are left with 2. From 90 guys who started when we had a couple of teams with 12 at the start of the season, 9 left. 9 left. We only have 10% of the league left who joined. Absolutely fantastic. You've got, I believe, Di and Kyle. I'm just trying to go back in my head. I think Di and Kyle have both got second lives there. They asked me the question of what happens if they gain next week when they've still got their second lives active and there's no more weeks left in the season. Simple answer to that is, if they gain next week, they'll automatically use up their second life and come straight back in. You know, they've managed to go 13 weeks of losing every single week, either losing or maintaining, and still on week 14 will have a second life active, so it doesn't go to waste. It will come into play. I doubt both of them are going to gain because they're on for perfect seasons and they'll want to make sure they clinch that, but just in case. You've got Darryl for the Reds, who did pick up a little gain, but still has his second life, so as long as he loses, he's straight back in. There's 1 or 2 others, I believe, who are pending. I can't remember off the top of my head. Phil for the Blues, he's pending with a second life. As long as he loses, he's back in next week. So that 9 could be 10 or 11. There's a couple guys in the background. But right now we're looking at 9, and we're looking at every single one of those boys having 5 goals each next week if they're still in the Rumble. Well done. Hats off to every single one of you. This week was a week of the maintains. There were so many maintains across the board. I want to emphasize just how positive that is. It's what we're here to do. We're here to learn how to lose weight, but also we're here to learn how to not put it all back on again. So maintain being what you were the previous week is success. It's progress. It's building consistency. Thank you to every single one of you. Thank you to the captains. Thank you to Clayton, who came down in the driving rain to stand there and look like a drenched rat, just so that all of you had a referee. I know we bang on about respecting the referee and no ref, no game. But honestly, Clayton's carrying an injury. He can't play in something that he was part of creating. He was one of the biggest personalities that we had when we first started this. A lot of the banter and the joking and the laughing and the humour, a lot of the boys' ability to share without fear of judgment begun with Clayton. A lot of the originals will tell you that whenever there was something that needed discussing or something particularly difficult or something challenging, whenever we put a challenge to the original guys to talk about their mental health or talk about their reasons for joining Man vs. Fat, no one really ever wanted to get started. Clayton was always the one who'd break the barrier down and go first so that others could follow. So for him to not be part of this and have to leave because of injury, I know cut him up and hit him hard. He decided to come back as your referee to stay involved. Didn't have to do that. Gives up his free time every Tuesday night to stand there in the pissing rain so that you boys have a ref so that your matches can go forward. So massive respect and hats off to him. Thank you for doing it this season, mate. I cannot wait to have you back as an active playing member next season. Thank you to the venue as always. Thank you to every single one of you who's here with us. Thank you for all your feedback that keeps coming in every week about your ideas and what can be done better. I always appreciate it. Keep it coming. We've got a busy November and December coming up now with a new season, a possible expansion. More will come on that. I'm waiting on one or two things being finalised above me. More will come. I appreciate there's a lot of you guys asking for a schedule about what happens between now and January. There are a few things still up in the air. There's a couple of weeks we're missing because of events and Christmas. I want to get a schedule out to you boys that shows what happens between now and January, week by week. I can't at the moment because I'm still waiting on a couple of answers back from HQ. As soon as I get them, I'll tell you boys immediately and get a schedule out for you so you know what's going on. Yeah, that's it. That's enough of me rambling. I feel like I've gone way over the 10 minutes. Bloody hell. Yeah, 17 minutes. That's enough of me rambling. Cheers, guys. See you next week.